finance is this lady named Candace Owens. Candace Owens, as you know, is a very popular conservative commentator. Some of you love her, some of you hate her, some of you don't care about her. But I thought that the conversation was interesting because she was talking to a person that I've engaged with a little bit by the name of Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club. And on this show, The Breakfast Club, Candace Owens was explaining why she married a white man, and they said you have a lot to say about the black family, and I personally believe Candace, is an interesting person who I see her more so on that Republican sort of side of the fence, and it's okay. Some of y'all are Democrats, some of you are Republican. You guys know I don't get into that. And with her being more on the conservative side, the talking points, are pretty consistent that the black families have broken down. And I guess in her world, she believes the Democrats did it, and it is what it is, right? So I'm not here to debate the merits of the argument. What I am here to talk about, though, was some interesting little details of the conversation. Now, I put the video on my Instagram, which is Dr. Boyce Finance. I cannot put it in here just because it's I don't have it with me, but it was very interesting. So Charlemagne asked her. He said, "You talk about the black family a lot, but you're married to a white man." And then he makes a joke that Dr. Umar Johnson would have a big problem with that because, as you know, Umar has spoken extensively about the importance of black men marrying black women. I happen to agree with that point. I think that that's just my preference. I think black women are cool. And so here's the thing that was interesting about this conversation. First off, I'll talk about what well, actually, let me get the first thing out of the way. One thing that's very interesting is that I find it so fascinating that Umar Johnson says so much about marrying black women, but if you look, he's not married to anybody, right? That's not that I just think it's kind of strange. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So I find that strange that this tells you how strange the internet is. The internet's a very strange place that many people giving advice on marriage aren't married to anyone. And so I personally believe in action over words. I don't want to hear what you say. I want to see what you do. And so if you're telling me I need to marry a black woman, but you're not married to a black woman, well, that's a fun that there's actually a whole theory about that in finance. They call that the lemon theory. The lemon theory basically says that if somebody tells you to do something that they're not personally willing to do themselves, then that means you probably shouldn't do it. Right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't marry a black woman. I'm just saying that there's that they don't believe that the best way for me to show you that I believe what I say is for me to do it. Like if I say, here, drink this. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Like, so if I say, here, drink this, and you say, well, you drink it first. And I say, well, no, 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 I don't want to drink it because I don't, I'm lactose intolerant, right? Like then you're gonna kind of be suspicious. You're gonna say, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute, you're trying to get me to drink something that you won't drink yourself. So I think that's a legitimate point, right? It's kind of hilarious to me. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, where's your wife? Show me your wife and show me how about you and your wife make that point? Like, because I think that, when you talk about an important institution like marriage, which is deeply connected to black wealth, there are a lot of intricacies and challenges with marriage that unmarried people have no idea of. They just don't understand it. It's like when I started my PhD program, one of the PhD students said to me something that I didn't listen to. I ignored it when he said it, but now I get it. He said, I can't explain to you how hard this program is. I cannot explain to you how difficult it is. You will only know if you do it. You will only know if you go through it. You will only know once you get here. And I didn't, and I was like, oh no, I'm a straight A student. I can do anything. That was my mindset when I came out of college because remember, I was the number one student on campus and all that. So I thought that it would just be like another experience. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was one of those things where some things you only know if you've had that experience. So I think that when you're talking about something as important as family and marriage, I like to learn from people who've actually done it. I like to talk to people. If I want to figure out how to be married 50 years, I'm gonna go find somebody who's been married 50 years and say, what was it like? Tell me about all the awkward, challenging decisions you had to make in order to maintain and hold this thing together. And what you'll find is that a lot of people that have been married 50 years, when they describe what it took to be married 50 years, it's very different from what a YouTuber is gonna some single YouTuber who hadn't had a relationship longer than 2 weeks is gonna be able to tell them. Right? It's a whole different reality. Literally, they'll be like, "Yeah, we held it together with Scotch tape and Elmer's glue, and like they really had to make some tough decisions." Or better yet, another example would be if you're trying to win an NBA championship, talking to a Michael Jordan is going to be very different from talking to somebody who simply studies basketball on a piece of paper. Somebody who give me a yes if you're following this logic, and I promise you, it all comes back to wealth. Let me know if you understand what I'm saying. That Michael Jordan is gonna be able to tell you a lot of little things about winning a championship that you never would have thought of. And the person who just studies the chalkboard and watches film, they're gonna say stuff, but you won't know if it actually works. It hasn't been tested. It hasn't proven anything, right? So again, my point is to say that I just really find it just utterly fascinating to hear people comment on being married who've never done it, who aren't willing to do it. Again, that violates the lemon theory. Again, there's thousands of research papers in finance written on lemon theories, and one of the basic ideas is that if they ain't willing to do it, you shouldn't do it. That's it. That's why, even in the stock market, did you know that when the insiders of a company sell the stock, what do you think happens to the price when the insiders of a company um start selling the stock? What do you think, the price goes up? You think everybody says, "Oh, we want to invest in the thing that you won't invest in"? Do you think what do you think? No, the price goes down. That's a mixture of two theories actually. One's called the lemon theory, the other one's called signaling. So basically, when you show me what, I'm not going to listen to what you say. I'm going to watch what you do. That's the point. So when you say one thing but you do something different, I'm not listening to what you say. I'm watching what you do because your words speak so loudly that I can't hear what you say. I'm sorry, your actions speak so loudly I can't hear what you say. I meant to say actions, not words. You get the point. Your actions are screaming, and your words are like, I don't want to hear your words. I want to see your actions. So the lemon theory is based on that idea that if people aren't willing to put skin in the game that they're asking you to put skin in the game on, you should not put skin in the game. And then also the signaling says that I can watch your actions and watch the actions of other people and get some signal of what they really believe. So this is another reason why when you talk about teaching wealth to your children, don't just think about what you say, think about what you do. Communicate with your kids through your actions. Talk about money and finance and investing in front of the kids so they can watch you making your money moves. Some of you are doing all kinds of stuff. Some of you are in real estate. Some of you are starting businesses. Some of you are trading and selling stock options and making income every week. Let your kids watch you do it because they're going to copy what you do. They're not going to copy what you say. You could talk all day about, yeah, well, you should really learn wealth and wealth is important. And you should do that. I mean, you should have those conversations, but there's nothing like action, right? So let's go back to this conversation about marriage. So I heard Candace Owens explaining why her husband was white, which, that's kind of a weird thing anyway. I don't know if anybody should ever have to explain their spouse. I don't personally feel like I have a right to force her to explain her spouse. However, we would have a right to say, gosh, you have a lot to say about the black family, but you ain't even got one. You ain't built one. You don't know nothing about having one. You ain't never managed one. You know nothing about black family. So maybe your opinion isn't as doesn't have as much merit as someone who's actually built or tried to build a black family. But one thing that she said that was really interesting that I just thought was just so fascinating. And again, the video's on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. Is Candace says that in a book she read that you marry your IQ. And she says, my brain just moves really fast and I'm interested in a lot of stuff. And I couldn't find a partner who can match all that. I couldn't find a partner whose IQ can match my IQ. Now I need to. Okay, let me ask y'all a question. Give me a yes in the chat. How many of y'all know a black person with a high IQ? How many of y'all know black men, more than one black male, who's maybe good looking, who has a high IQ? How many of y'all know that black people have high IQs too? Give me a yes if you agree that all the people that follow me, many of the people that follow me have very high IQs. I told you I cater to intelligent black people and serious black people. So there's a whole lot of serious black people who ain't messing around, not cooning, their way to success, who are fighting the good fight, who are building families, who are making good choices, who are healthy, happy, wonderful people, who know the difference between your and your, right? If you know what I mean in a sentence, right? Who are great marriage material. So this idea that somehow in order for me to marry my IQ, I got to marry a white guy, that is the most insane thing I've ever heard. My wife has a PhD. I have one too. We are a couple. We're both black. And so I think that so that's one of the things that really jumped out at me is this idea that somehow she needed her husband to be smart. So it's like, oh, I got to marry a white man because white people are smarter than us. That's just hilarious. But the other interesting thing too is that there is a point to be made. And I say this very carefully because I have people in my family who married outside their race. I never judge that. I don't believe I have a right to tell somebody who they can and can't marry, right? So that's another area where Umar and I would disagree. I don't think you should go around policing who people marry, because if you police who they marry, then they're going to police who you marry, right? And then they're going to realize, oh, Umar, you're not married to anybody. Like, what's going on with that, right? So that's what I would literally do. If somebody comes up and says, well, why'd you pick that wife? Why's your wife light skinned? And I would say, well, look at your wife. Let's talk about your wife. Let's scrutinize your choices as much as you're scrutinizing mine. Nobody has a right to do that. That's my personal belief. But one thing I will say is that anybody who ever says that who you marry has nothing to do with generational wealth transfer is out of their mind. They are absolutely incorrect, wrong, and highly uneducated and unskilled and untrained in this area. I'm not saying that you're bad. I'm not saying you can't bring your white wife or your white husband to class. We love them too. Nothing against them, I promise you. Especially if they're trying to help out. God bless them. I don't I don't do that. I don't beat up on people because of who they love. So just so you know that if you're a dude married to a dude, or you're a woman married to a white guy, like, don't think I'm going to look at you funny. I really won't judge you. I promise you. I judge people based on character. But when you talk about generational wealth transfer and who you choose to marry, and your commitment to the community, all those things are connected. They're all connected. Um, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. I could probably give you 50, but I'm going to give you a couple. Uh, has anybody seen the movie Killers of the Flower Moon? Give me a yes if you've heard of the movie on Netflix, Killers of the Flower Moon, with directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. Has anybody seen this movie? Well, this movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, is a really long 3-hour film about the Osage tribe. The Osage tribe was a tribe of Native Americans who had the wonderful fortune of having oil discovered on their property. So all the oil that was discovered on their property made them the highest per capita group of people on the planet. They were richer than everybody. They were the richest human beings on the entire earth because they had so much oil. They had wealthy Native Americans who would hire white people to drive them around in their cars and be their chauffeurs and be their maids. That's what the Osage tribe had. Well, if you watch this movie Killers of the Flower Moon, the whole plot of it, based on a true story, people went to prison for this, was to infiltrate the town and marry the women. They married the white guys would marry the women, and then the woman ends up dead, and then guess who inherits the property? And if they had not gotten married, they could not inherit the property. They got the property because they got married. They didn't get the property because they were dating or a ride or die, or because they slept together, or because you became a baby mama or baby daddy. You got the property legally through marriage. And in this movie, there was an old lady in the movie who died because everybody was dying because they were killing them. They were poisoning them to get their land and get their property. And she said to her daughter, she said, all of y'all keep on marrying these white men. That's what the old lady, and the daughter's like, oh, grandma, you being old fashioned. You ain't with it. You ain't, you're disrupting our freedoms and all this other stuff. That's what they blew off grandma. But grandma saw the whole game. Grandma said, wait, so they understand the power of marriage as a way to transfer away all your birthrights for your children. I mean, the crimes got so sinister that there was one guy who married a lady and got her killed to inherit the land, and then plotted to murder the children after the mother was dead. He was plotting to kill the kids. That's how deep it got. He was like, I got rid of the mama. Now if I get rid of the children, all this land and property comes to me. This movie is recommended reading because, or watching, viewing, not reading. You're not going to read it. You're going to view it. This is recommended viewing because it will help you understand how deep this game is when it comes to economic warfare. It'll help you understand how the white male in America became the wealthiest human being on the planet. It'll help you understand why rich people who stay rich, who protect their wealth, are extremely picky about who you marry. Go into the family of most wealthy people. You ain't gonna run up in there telling me I'm dating sexy red and I love her and she gonna be the mother of my kids. They will disinherit you. You walk up in there with a thug and you a debutante trying to date the bad boys and the thugs. They're gonna write you right out of that will. They will protect that wealth. Warren Buffett was so gangster that he told his family, not only do we need to monitor who you marry and who's going to get our money, but if you say one word to the media about our family, if you break the code of conduct in this family, you get nothing. And one granddaughter went to the media and started talking about what it's like to be the granddaughter of Warren Buffett. He took her out of the will. She was disinherited just for talking. I'm not saying that that's normal behavior, but this is a man that's worth almost $200 billion. So he must know a little bit about wealth accumulation. Now again, I'm not saying money needs to be the most important thing in the world. I'm just giving you an example of what people do when they're not playing when it comes to their wealth. For some reason, somebody lied to you and told you that marriage was just only about who you love and who's the cutest and who's the most romantic and who has the biggest booty. That's what they got you thinking. They got you men being dragged around by their dingalings, marrying women that they got no business being in the family, and they got the women chasing guys who literally are wealth destroyers in every move that they make. Literally, I mean, I'm talking about no respect for family, no respect for culture, tradition, education, hard work, nothing good. But you got with this man because he was cute and he was good in the bedroom. That's how base level some of these relationships are. And it's okay to operate on that level if that's what you want, but you'll never be on this level if you operate on this level. You'll never be in the penthouse if you always insist on remaining in the basement. You'll never be at the top if you're operating with a mindset at the bottom. Now, the movie, again, is called Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon. It's on Netflix. If you don't think that who you marry matters, watch that movie because that is specifically a film where they use romance and a lack of economic consciousness. What is it? What are we doing today? Y'all tell me in the chat. What do we do every morning at 10 a.m.? We're doing what kind of training? Financial consciousness training. So if you look at the example of the Osage tribe in the Killers of the Flower Moon, what the white men did when they came to that town and started seducing all the ladies is they said, if I seduce her, bring her flowers, tell her that she's pretty, give her something good in the bedroom, give her some romance, I can just literally talk to wiggle her out of all her assets. And then when she lets her guard down because she thinks I love her, which I never did, then I'm going to kill her and I'm going to take all of her property because I want the money that bad. This is the country that you live in. This is what they do. This is the history. This is why they have so much wealth. They're extreme with it. I'm not telling you to be equally extreme. You don't have to be the same way, but I am telling you that there is a connection between how you structure your family and how you protect your assets and build on top of that wealth. So going back to the Candace Owens conversation on the Breakfast Club, it was a stupid conversation to me. It was very, very silly, very, very immature. But then again, Candace is much younger than me, and I have no right to tell her who to marry or whatever. I just thought it was really hilarious to say, well, you got to marry people that have an IQ as high as yours. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, no, my IQ is higher than yours, and I'm a black man, and I know lots of other black men with high IQs. So so that was silly. That was silly to me. And really, the way I would have answered the question if I was hers, I would have just said, well, who I marry is none of your business. Like that's not. I'm not going to judge who you marry. You don't judge who I marry, and that's it. And then the same thing. Umar can't judge who I marry because Umar ain't married to nobody. So ultimately, I think that that's not even a question you should have to answer. So I want you all to understand that, so you don't think that when I see you, I'm going to judge who you chose to marry. But one thing I can say though is that if I do judge who you marry at all, if that were to occur, it would be more so in the positive direction. And what I mean by that is I may not judge you negatively if you choose to not participate in this whole black family building process. That's totally fine. However, if you do, I applaud you and I commend you because you have gone the extra mile in this important sense. Black children can only be produced with a black family. And give me a guess if you agree that black children are our future. Give me a yes if you agree that black children are a valuable asset. Give me a yes if you agree that the way we're going to get out of this mess and improve the community is by getting the children on board and getting them prepared for the future. That's how we win, right? So, to me, when you are that black family and you go through the stress of loving a black man, because half of us are traumatized and done been through things and we half crazy, but you loving us through that, then God bless you for being that kind of a woman, because I know that there's no greater investment you'll ever make in your life than who you choose to marry. You can invest $1 million, but that'll never matter as much as your life. So your financial investments are pale in comparison to the big investment, which is who you choose to spend your life with. Also for the men, I know that the men, there are men out here who just love the hell out of black women. I'm one of them. Even if I wasn't married to my wife, I would have married another black woman. And it ain't always easy because black people have a unique experience. We've gone through a whole lot together. But I decided when I was 16, I said, if I'm really in this fight, if I'm really in this whole pro-black fight, I can't just sort of fight from the sidelines. I can't sit over here and send other people to battle, but I'm not going to battle myself. So every day when you're figuring it out with your family and trying to build with people around you, and it's hard, you're in the battlefield. You're trying to score the touchdowns, you're trying to score the points. And there's so many people. It's so ironic to me how the people who typically have the most to say are the ones who won't go on the battlefield themselves. It reminds me of Congress, and why I respect soldiers tremendously, but I don't respect political leaders who send soldiers off to die because they're not willing to go on the battlefield, but they want you and your child out there on the battlefield. That's kind of what that reminds me of. They'll send you and your son out there to go get shot up, but they won't do it themselves. But yet they're the ones who pretend to be the toughest and do the most talking. And oh yeah, we got to go get them. We got to go kill them. We got to fight to the death. Well, you get out there and fight to the death. They won't do that. So the same thing is true, I think, when it comes to getting on the front lines of whatever's required for the community. And on the front lines that there's other avenues as well. Like the Nation of Islam. I respect the Nation of Islam because I've seen the nation go into neighborhoods that the police won't even go to. I've seen them deal with problems that a lot of us ignore. And so ultimately, I think that there should be a special place for those people, not to the point where others are discredited or disrespected for not making that sacrifice. But I think that we have to know the difference. There is a big difference between a man who engages in the day-to-day toil of being married to a black woman and making it work versus the man who sits on the side and doesn't commit to anyone, but has a million things to say about what married people are supposed to do. I think that's nonsense. So again, it goes back to the lemon theory when I explained to you that what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. George Frazier is the person who actually shared that statement with me. I think he got it from his mother or his grandmother. I think it's the wisest thing in the world. Look at what people do, not what they say. That'll help you understand what the next steps really need to be. But wealth and marriage, deeply connected, deeply connected. Now, anyway, let's move on. I'm gonna throw up a couple of slides before we finish up today. Two things. One, Dr. Christina Parks is going to be here tomorrow night. She has a PhD in cell and molecular biology. She is one of our faculty members in the Black Business School, and she does health as well about once a month. So make sure you get on the email list. Is it tonight? Thank you, Natalie. I said tomorrow night because I lose track of the days. See, but Natalie keeps me on point. So thank you, Natalie. See, there you go. There's another black woman saving a black man again. I appreciate you. And then Friday, which is tomorrow, we have at 7 p.m. Michael Edwards is coming in to do Forex and explain Forex. Ace Chapman at 8 is going to explain how to buy and acquire businesses with no money down. If you want to get information about these events, text the word money to 87948. If you text money to 87948, you'll get the link. Also, this weekend, Dr. Lene Javette, who's another faculty member in the Black Business School, is hosting the Black Power Her conference, where she is basically going to spend the weekend bringing high-powered women to you that are running businesses, making money, making investments, and doing amazing things. The Black Power Her conference happens once a year. It's digital, it's online, so you can absolutely positively join directly from anywhere. So you'll get an email about that today. Also, if you're on the text list, I'll send out a text as well if you'd like to join. And if you want to get just all the stuff from the Black Business School, make sure you get on one of those lists that I mentioned. If you text money to 87948, I'll send you out stuff as it happens. Okay, so one thing I wanted to share with you before we get started, or as we get started, is we talked about last time we talked about capital. And we explained, or I explained and we understand that the most important thing you can have when it comes to wealth is not things like a college degree and stuff like that. What a college degree kind of is it's not a waste. I'm not saying that a college degree is a waste, but what a college degree does is it's like a ticket. It gives you a ticket into an economic system. If you are in another economic system, that degree may not mean very much. For example, I know people who went to school in maybe France or Jamaica or something, and they come to the United States and try to use their medical degree from France, and they can't use it maybe because the school may not be recognized in the United States. So a college degree gives you specific access to a certain system. The way you get your ROI is that you go to work every day and you are able to get money. And if you get enough money, then the ROI can be positive if the debt is not too much. But for many cases, the debt is incredibly high because student loan debt has gone up. Student loan debt is now in a crisis mode. It is the highest that it's ever been. And then also wages have been dropping. So the ROI on a college degree has actually declined. And also it comes with a whole bunch of work. And remember, the biggest scam in America, in my opinion, for most people is a job, because a job is the only place that you can work your butt off for many, many years and end up with less money than you had when you started. That's crazy that a newborn baby has been born today that has a higher net worth than some of us in this room, and that's not fair because you've been working your butt off. The baby ain't done nothing. So let's look at some other examples of capital though. What can capital look like? Remember, and this is important. This is how you can have financial consciousness, by seeing wealth in a lot of its forms, not just in one or two forms. So capital can show up in the form of real estate. This is really easy, right? If you own a lot of real estate, then that's a lot of wealth. Right now, Donald Trump is just getting the business in these lawsuits. I think he has to come up with $500 million, which is a lot of money. And I was curious. I said, "Wow, I wonder if he can afford to pay that." And then I saw a list of this man's property. Lord Jesus, this man has so much property. They were like, "Oh, he's got this building that's worth $250 million. This other property is worth 300 million. This other property is worth 100 million. This property over here is worth 400 million." In fact, Mar-a-Lago, which is listed as a $240 million property, but I don't know what he would get if he sold it. That thing is paid off. Like, he has no debt on that place. So that's fascinating. So anyway, so he has a lot of real estate. That's where his wealth is. Now he's gonna have less wealth after all this is done. But then again, people like him, he gets back in the White House. They always find a way to put money back in their own pocket. That's what these politicians do. What other capital might you have? Labor. When you show up and you go to work every day, what you're doing is you're giving labor, which is a product of your human capital. So you're giving that time and that energy to do labor. Labor is cool. The problem with labor is a diminishing asset. Your ability to give labor declines as you get older. So your goal as an investor is to make a transition from you working for money to the point where your money is working for you. So a lot of you, for example, if you're in the training on how to make money without working and part of the Prime program, you'll see that that little capital base you have can generate enough income that you don't have to go to work anymore. And that should be the goal. That's another form of graduation for young people that they should aspire to, is not to work until they grow old and die, but to work until they can retire and walk away. And I think that there are lots of ways to do that. And again, by doing little things like the $5 a day plan, you're giving them a massive head start. You don't let them wait until they become economically conscious when they're 25 or 30 years old to start the process. You start the process before they're economically conscious. And then you can tell them, look, grandma was thinking about you when you weren't thinking about yourself. Granddaddy had a plan for you. Daddy, he was investing for you. So now you've got these assets. And then you give them some skill on how to manage the assets. And that's the secret to generating income. Having assets and knowing how to manage them is how people make money. If I have a bunch of cows and I know how to milk the cows and how to get the milk to market, then I'm able to make money from my cows. Now, Travis, if anybody who wants to, you asked about Dr. Park's event tonight. I don't have that link. So write down this email address, support at theblackbusinessschool.com. If you email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, we have a great support team that's right there. They can email you back and send you back the link. I did not bring the link with me, so sorry for that. But yeah, email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. They can take good care of you. Okay. So let's keep going here. Let's keep going. What other forms of capital do you have in your life? Remember, I was explaining to you all that you were born a millionaire. You just didn't know it. You think that you were born poor, or you think you were born with mediocre means, but you weren't. You were born a millionaire. Your human capital alone is worth millions of dollars. That's why companies pay you money to get you to come to work every day. What else? The family cow. If you have an asset like a cow, that's capital. Because why? Well, because I can sell the beef, I can sell the milk, anything that can allow you to generate income or something that you need, then that is a form of capital. A name brand or a reputation. If you have a name brand or a good reputation, then that becomes monetizable. My name, Dr. Boyce Watkins, I got a trademark on it because my name means something, right? And so effectively, if you have a name brand or something that you build, if you build a brand, there's a process for building brands, and I encourage you to learn that. And you build a brand, you pass it to your kids, they can use that brand to generate income. What else? A network. If you have a network, people use terms like your network is your net worth. Anybody ever heard that? Anybody ever heard somebody say your network is your net worth? And I used to hear that like 15 years ago, and I just thought it was like a corny, gimmicky, weird tagline. But now I agree. Now I actually agree. I do think that if you have a great network, you can get a lot of things done. I've seen people with great networks who are able to just make moves and get things done that other people find very hard to do. And Dr. George C. Fraser, who also is joining us for a class in the Black Business School this year, he's the networking king. He's the networking guru of America. And I see Dr. Fraser just moving in spaces and getting things done. It's pretty fascinating to watch. What else? Your body can be a form of capital. Anybody ever heard of a prostitute? Prostitutes, that's what they're doing. They're taking their capital base that God gave them, and they're selling that to people. But it can also be your body in the form of maybe physical labor. Maybe because you're big and strong, you can go lift bales of hay or something like that. But again, the problem with that capital is it's very costly because that it's diminishing. It has diminishing returns, diminishing value. So over time, you get tired, you get old, you don't want to do it anymore. LeBron James, his body is a form of capital. He's 6'8", 240 pounds, and he's able to dunk a basketball. So for the last 20 years or so, 25 years, he's been able to make a lot of money playing basketball. But because LeBron is a smart man, he knows that he doesn't want to try to make money playing basketball forever. So he took his money, his income. Remember, income is not important relative to wealth. Income is an opportunity to build wealth. Income is a flow. It flows through you. Wealth is a stock. It sticks with you. You understand? So income is an opportunity to build wealth. And remember, what does the word poor stand for? What does poor stand for? Poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. So people stay poor because they get income and they don't turn it into wealth. They have no interest in turning it into wealth. So it flows right through you, it disappears, and then you got to go make more income. Well, LeBron took his income and he's converted it into other forms of capital. He said, okay, let me invest in the movie industry. Let me invest in real estate. Let me invest in this and invest in this and invest in that. And now LeBron is at a point where once he retires from basketball, I guarantee you that 5 years after he finishes playing basketball, he will make an annual income that will probably be triple what he made as a basketball player. At least triple, probably maybe 10 times greater. Michael Jordan, his annual income is at least 10 times greater than the highest amount of money he ever made when he was the highest paid player in the entire NBA. Why? Well, because he took one form of capital, transferred it into another that was not perishable. It's like taking some fruit that you have that's going to go bad in a couple of days and selling the fruit and then buying some canned goods that are going to last forever. Some forms of capital will last, some forms do not. Your body, your youth, your energy, your time, all those things are depleting and diminishing. You run out of those things. But if you buy a building, A building can last for hundreds of years. If you have a reputation, if you have even something like a degree can last longer than your physical and human body, right? Or if you have a business, or if you have shares of stock, that's beautiful. There are people that have bought shares of stock. Do you know that there are people that have been stockholders in companies like Coca-Cola for like 100 years? Y'all know that? That literally their family bought this stock in like 1922 and they've owned it ever since, right? So those forms of capital tend to last. So that's what you want. By the time you're done, you want to be passing capital to your kids that's not depleting, not diminishing, because here's what happens. Trillions of dollars in black wealth gets lost every single year because we have the business owner who busts their butt, works themselves into the ground. They're using a depleting form of capital. They're using their expertise and their energy and their time. So eventually you get old, you run out of time, you run out of energy, you eventually die. And then guess what happens? The business just dwindles away into the wind and it's gone. And then what's really crazy is that sometimes there's no assets to be passed on because nobody made a plan for a transition. So then next thing you know, your child, your grandchild is starting over with nothing, as if you never worked your whole life, as if you never did anything, as if you literally could have sat there and sat on the couch for 70 years and it would have the same effect as whatever it was that you did during that time. It's wasted. It's absolutely wasted time. In fact, one of the reasons why I think you may want to check out Ace Chapman's event on Friday night is because one thing that Ace mentioned, I brought him into class yesterday. You guys saw him. He's a great guy. He's brilliant. He mentioned that a lot of businesses he's able to acquire for almost nothing because there's no transition plan. There's nobody, the owner, the founder is old, they're tired, they don't want to work anymore, and they have nobody to pass it on to. They didn't train anybody to run it. Nobody wants it. Maybe the kids went off to college and they don't want to come back and run the family business. And so he comes and he takes that business and he just hires people to run it. And he ends up making money off of somebody else's wasted, depleted capital. Because what Ace said was that he said, yeah, if you've been doing this for 40 years, you've been accumulating customers for 40 years, you've been learning processes for 40 years, you've been doing all these things for 40 years. I want to buy that 40 years and use that capital to generate income for me and my family. And that's what Ace is able to do. So Ace's event is Friday night at 8 o'clock. If you text the word money to 87948, you should get a text very soon to join that event. And also, if you're not sure or you don't get the link or something, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Don't forget the THE. Email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can give you anything that you need. Let's keep going. Let's finish up the forms of capital, and then we'll be done for today. What else? Cars. Cars are a type of capital, but it's not a very good capital base because cars depreciate in value. We know these things. If you don't know it, then here's the deal. When you buy a car, the minute you drive that sucker off the lot, that sucker drops in value very quickly. And then over the next few years, you have nothing left over. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is they put a lot of money into buying a car, and that literally does absolutely nothing for your generational wealth. But it does make you look good when you're on your way to the club. So maybe for some people that's more important. I have no idea. I don't go to the club and I don't look very cool. So neither one of those things ever matter to me. Let's keep going. Skills. Skills are a type of capital. You can increase your human capital by getting education, learning things. I think that's really important. Another great form of capital that I love, stocks and bonds. Oh, Lord. See, here's the thing. I believe this, and this is the last thought I'm going to share with you guys before we bounce out. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Um, I find it fascinating that when we talk about business, when we talk about starting a business, we instantly go into entrepreneur mode, right? We instantly go into this mode of like, I got to go and sit with my friends, make a business plan, invest money out of my 401k, get that thing started, work 70, 80 hours a week, listening to motivational speeches to keep me going during the darkest times, going to seminars, taking classes, all that, so I can run this business. And then maybe after a few years, I'm going to figure it out. And then eventually I'll start making money if I'm lucky. If I'm not one of the 80% that fail, then I'll get there and I'll be okay. And that's a great journey. That's a fun journey. I've done that journey. It's a big deal. Um, and we should go through that journey on some level, especially if you have a passion that you'd like to pursue. But the thing about it is that hindsight is 2020. There's so many things that I see now at 52 that I wish I'd seen when I was 22. And what I see when I look back is I see a great journey that I don't regret. I had a lot of fun grinding my way to the top, right? Doing all that stuff. That was fun. But if I knew then what I know now, oh Lord. And so let me give you some example. Let me let you know why I'm laughing when I say this. 'Cause I'm laughing at myself because you just figure stuff out and you're like, oh, I could have done it that way. First things first. How do you answer me in the chat? Um, if you want to be a business owner in 5 minutes, how do you become a business owner in 5 minutes? A lot of y'all that have been following me, you'll know the answer to that question. Type the answer in the chat. If I want to be a business owner in 5 minutes, what do I do? There we go. Thank you, El Hodge and Jamila. I get on an app. I find the company I want to be in business with. I say, oh, I want to go into the AI business. So I get on my app, I look up NVIDIA or something or AMD, and I buy shares of AMD or NVIDIA. Now I'm in the AI business. I'm in. I'm in. No work required, no nothing, just capital. My money's now working for me. So, and does that work? Well, you know what? Go ask some of those people that showed up at that NVIDIA conference. Anybody see that conference NVIDIA had? It was like a freaking Taylor Swift concert. They filled up an entire arena full of AI and NVIDIA enthusiasts. Why do you think all those people showed up and were acting like it was freaking Woodstock? Well, because a lot of them bought the stock when it was like $20 or $30 and they watched that sucker rise to $900. If that don't make you giddy, I don't know what will. So they were showing up. They were pretty much, it was like they were a bunch of hippies who'd all been smoking the same dope. And the dope was called money. And they've been getting high on money. So they were like, ah. So they want to know what's next. So process this, right? If you're an investor in Nvidia, a lot of these people literally are retiring now because they made so much money on their Nvidia stock. They don't know nothing. Most of them don't know nothing about programming a computer, ain't never been to an NVIDIA factory, have never made a sale for NVIDIA, haven't even sat in on an earnings call, don't care. But literally, your investment went up 50x. That's kind of cool. No work required. This is a way that people do get rich. So what you got to understand is that part of your pathway, part of your journey to success and wealth isn't just through those 70-hour grinds that they tell you that you have to do to be a business owner. Part of your secret to wealth might be just not wasting all that extra money that you get. Buying a couple of shares of stock with your money instead of running off to Applebee's and buying Nike sneakers and a new iPhone every time you get extra money in your. I'm not saying you shouldn't get those things. I'm saying that stock market investment should be part of your process. Do you understand? I literally bought Nvidia by accident. I literally bought it by accident. You know how I became an Nvidia investor? Our son, our oldest son, 5 years ago, said, "Hey, Boyce, you should buy Nvidia." I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because they make chips for video games." So because I'm trying to get to know him, I'm his bonus dad. I'm trying to get to know him, right? So it gives us something else to talk about. So I'm like, okay, cool. I got some extra cash in the account. Let me go grab some Nvidia. How much does it cost? $40 a share. Okay, let's go ahead and get 100 shares. That's literally how I became an Nvidia investor. So you can imagine how I felt when I saw that the $5,000 investment my wife and I made in Nvidia had turned into almost $100,000. No work required. See, to win the game, you got to be in the game. Most people lose the wealth game because they ain't even in it. The employee, the worker game, that's not built for you to win. I'm not saying that you're stupid. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that that maybe you might want to listen to a little bit of what I'm saying. That this is important stuff. So let's keep going. The whole business thing overthinking. Another thing I learned, if you are interested in being an entrepreneur, when I see people like Ace Chapman, I find it fascinating that Ace is a guy who owns several businesses where he has no idea how to run those businesses. He doesn't care. He doesn't do the work. He hires other people to do the work. That's because Ace has developed other skills that you don't learn in school. Like he's learned how to talk to people. He learns how to form healthy relationships. He knows how to delegate. He knows how to develop systems. How about instead of all the time that they waste in school learning a bunch of crap that ain't never going to benefit anybody, we have the kids learning things like that. That's where our models in the Black Business School come from. Poise, producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur. Have your kids memorize that. Sturdy, building sturdy children. STERDY. Systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, delegation for the youth. These are where the models come from. And so what else? Again, let's just go back to starting a business. Just easier ways that would have been easier than the path a lot of us took. Um, there was a lady named Tanya Nebo who taught a class in the Black Business School. She's one of our adjunct faculty. I'm bringing Tanya back. She's an attorney and she's really good. She did a whole, like, probably 20, 30 hours of training on how her clients were buying franchises. Like, they didn't have to figure out the business model. The franchises were great because the franchise, if you pay the fee, they give you the blueprint. They're like, okay, here's how you run a Subway. Here's how you run a McDonald's. Here's how you run the vacuum company, whatever. So they didn't have to figure it out. The franchise owner figured it out for them and said, you're buying access to my knowledge and information so that you don't have to go through all the trial and error in order to figure out how to make this business work. So buying a franchise is another way people go into business without all the whole, like, trying to figure out this and figure out that, right? Okay, so let's look at one last point I'll make. Um, and I'm gonna tell you, this is the what I believe in the most. And by the way, if you want to learn about the franchise stuff, feel free. It's Black Money 104, part of our Black Money sequence. We have a six-part sequence of trainings that you can do on all the areas of Black economics, and franchising is one of them. And so, if you email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, they can guide you to that. So write the email address down for the support team. You can ask them any question anytime. They will always be glad to help you out. So that's support at theblackbusinessschool.com. If you give your 20-year-old who's sitting on the couch doing nothing, offer them $50 to go through that training. And then I guarantee you they're going to come back with ideas on a family franchise that you can look into and you can buy. I've seen people do that, right? But my favorite way to start a business without doing any work is literally when I tell you all that when we did, a lot of you saw that training, how to make money without working. I think that's probably the best approach I've ever seen in terms of generating extra income and not having to do all the whole like entrepreneur business stuff. It's literally the equivalent of buying a bunch of chickens and selling the eggs on the chickens and then buying insurance on the chickens to make sure they don't get sick. And it's a straightforward process. It works. That is how I make most of my money now. And I encourage you to consider that as well. So there's a lot of ways for you to skin that economic cat. That's my point. That's my point. I really think that the type of economic thinking that I see sort of being perpetuated and shared and spread is unfortunately is somewhat primitive, but maybe it's primitive to me because I'm a 52-year-old PhD in this stuff. So I thought about this a lot more than maybe some people have. I have no idea. Not to say that our ideas are always better, but these are solid, sturdy ways to develop what you're looking for. The two things most of you are looking for is income and financial security. You're looking for some area where you can have some wealth to back you up, and you can also you're looking for income to allow you to pay bills. That's it. You're solving short-term needs and long-term needs, and that's the general goal. Okay. So by the way, so if you want to see the training, how to make money without working, text the word money to 87948. I'll send you that. Text money to 87948, or you can go to drboyceprime.com to take a look at that Prime program because that's really the one that's really changing a lot of people's lives. So a lot of you that are in the Prime program, you're in the chat and you can ask anybody that's in there and see what they think. Don't listen to me. It's absolutely unbelievable in terms of the fact that it's much easier than we might think. And the central idea is that if you have a capital base, you don't have to worry about all the other stuff like the college degree, getting up and working every day, and all this other stuff. If you have the capital base, and you know how to manage it, the capital base will make you more money than a job ever will. So that's my belief. That's my 2 cents. That's our conversation for today. Now, if you have any other questions or any question I could not answer or anything about what's going on in the Black Business School, just email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. They will take care of you. They will get you anything that you need. Anybody who wants the recordings of these trainings that we do, as you guys know, we meet every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you want to get the recordings, I can send you all the link. If you're on the text list, text morning to 87948. And what I'll do is this afternoon, I will send you a link where you can go and sign up for Dr. Boyce Daily, where you get access to all the archive recordings and all this other and a lot of other bonus material. The live session, a lot of you are just coming to the live sessions, which is fine too. But if you want the archives and the recordings, or you want to share them with your family, then all that's available in there. It's called Dr. Boyce Daily, but I'll just text you the link. So just make sure you get on the text list. Text morning to 87948, and I'll send it out to you actually right after this class. So have a great day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all. I actually said I'm gonna see you tomorrow, but I got to double check because I think I'm going to be going skiing with the grandkids. And if the time that we leave is too early, then I may have to cancel class tomorrow. But if I cancel tomorrow, then I'll just be back the next day. So you'll get a text from me though. I'll just text the word morning to 87948. I'll see you guys later.